Good Friday afternoon. I'm Maurice Patton. That is Wade Neely. We are Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We are coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective abodes, and we will be with you for the next 2 hours discussing sports topics of local, regional, and national interest. So stick around. It's going to be fun. Wade, what's up?
What's happening, man? Good to be with you. Good to be with everybody on a Friday. We've made it through another week and a big weekend ahead. You said it best, man. We're going to cover local, regional, national. We got a lot of stories. I don't know, we got 34 stories, but we got a lot of stories. So just buckle up, everybody. It's going to be a big, big show today here on a Friday. So.
We don't have 34 stories. We definitely don't have 45 stories, but we've got a few. We don't have 99 stories either.
Yep. So yeah. I'm looking forward to a big show, big weekend. Pretty pumped to be with everybody today.
It's going to be fun, and I think the fun has already started. We will be visiting in the second hour of the show with Ben McKee of GoVols247.com. Tennessee opens its road to Omaha tonight at Lindsey Nelson Stadium against Northern Kentucky, the Norse. We will be talking in the next segment, as we do periodically on Fridays, with Jeff Hem, the play-by-play voice of the Nashville Sounds. He will get us caught up on what's going on with them. They have been out in Memphis this week. They will return to First Horizon Park Tuesday for a 6-game series against the Bats of Louisville. So looking forward to catching up with him as well. We'll be talking some Braves. We'll be talking some Astros. Yay. Mm-hmm. And we delved a little bit into the mess that is the Mets yesterday. They made some moves here over the last 24 hours, and not just the obvious one coming out of Wednesday, but some others as well. So we'll be talking about that. Again, the NCAA Division I baseball tournament begins tonight, and Vanderbilt, it might be a stretch to say the Commodores are in action over in Clemson, but they are on the field. They have a game right now, and by the time we get to that in the run of show, they will probably be done. Also, again, we've talked about Birmingham Southern. They opened the Division III World Series before we go off the air up at Eastlake, Ohio, so we'll be touching a little bit on them. We had some Women's College World Series action that started up yesterday, and we'll get you up to date on that. And again, it's the weekend update, so we're going to let you know what's going on this weekend in and around Nashville as far as sports goes. So looking forward to it again. And let's go ahead and get started, Wade, with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the Rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Buckle up, boys and girls. I want to tell you guys that the Friday Rundown is brought to you by Chip Walters of Exit Realty Bob Lamb and Associates. The Blue Raider voice also wants to be your trusted advisor in real estate. So contact Chip at 615-542-1915 or visit his website at choosechip.net. That's Chip Walters, proud to support youth sports across Middle Tennessee.
Thursday scores. Again, the Astros with a 4-0 win out at Seattle to close their series and their road trip out. Big win for Houston there. Not so much for the Braves, as they fell 3-1 to visiting Washington, dropped 3-4 to the Nats, unfortunately. Tough loss for the Sounds over at AutoZone Park. Dropped a 3-1 decision to host Memphis. In the WNBA last night, it was Seattle 103, Indiana 88, and the Sky with an 83-73 win over the Sparks.
Schedule action for today. The Athletics will come to Truist Park. First pitch coming your way at 6:20. Once again, the Braves hosting the Athletics at 6:20. Game can be seen on Bally Sports South. 7:10 tonight. The Minnesota Twins will be at Minute Maid Park as the Astros and Twins will battle again at 7:10 on MLB Network. Saturday, Houston and Minnesota will play at the same time as the Braves. I was getting ready to say play first, but same time for both teams. 3:10 first pitch as, again, Minnesota is at Houston and the Athletics are at the Braves. Houston can be seen on MLB Network. Braves will be seen on Bally Sports South. On Sunday, 12:05, the Astros will get it on for that finale versus Minnesota versus the Twins on Roku. Making sure I got our channel right there. And then Braves will close it out versus the Athletics at 12:35 on Sunday on Bally Sports Southeast. Mo mentioned the Sounds. Rest of the Sound schedule for the weekend. Tonight, they'll be in action at 7:05 p.m. Tomorrow, they will be underway at 6:35. And at Sunday, on Sunday, they will close it out at a nice and tidy 1:05 p.m. first pitch.
WNBA action tonight at 6:30. Washington is at the Liberty. You can see it on Ion. Also, I guess these are regional telecasts because Dallas at Connecticut is also on Ion, also at 6:30. And the Aces are at the Dream at 6:30 on Ion. So check your local listings for which one you will get. At 8:30, national telecast apparently of Phoenix at Minnesota. Saturday at 11 a.m., you've got the Sky at the Fever. That one can be seen on ESPN. Sunday, the Connecticut Sun is at the Atlanta Dream at 2 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, the Sparks are at the Mercury. At 6 on NBA TV, the Fever plays at the Liberty, and at 6 on CBS Sports Network, Dallas is at Minnesota. Major League Soccer action tomorrow night, 7:30. You can see it on Apple TV. The New England Revolution visits Geodis Park, taking on the Nashville Soccer Club. And tomorrow at 4:30, you can make this a doubleheader, right, Wade?
Yep, double dip if you'd like.
If you'd like, because 4:30 at Municipal Auditorium, the Cats will be in action against the Albany Firebirds. So there you go. Go down to Municipal, check out the Cats, and then run on over to Geodis and check out NSC and the Revolution. There we go. We've planned your Saturday for you. That is your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check them out for their delicious daily deli lunch options that are served until 6 o'clock. So lunch, late lunch, early dinner, they got you covered. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. So Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia, bringing you our top story. Wade, there will be no historic comeback for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
No, sir. I mean, we shouldn't technically be surprised, I guess, considering what would we say the record was all time? Oh, and like 150.
Yeah.
So Minnesota, you know, they got one back, but Dallas got off to a fast start last night and never really let up as they cruised to a 124-103 win versus the T-Wolves, putting them out of their misery, if you will.
If you will. Yeah, Luka with 20 points in the first quarter, finished with 36, a postseason high for him, and I think he enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think so. And I didn't get a chance to watch this game last night, but I was getting a few texts, and from the jump, everybody said Luka is going nuclear, and that kind of told the tale. I mean, he was going off. Kyrie had a pretty good game after kind of a little bit of a dud, and then they also got Derek Lively back in the lineup. He had missed the previous game with an injury, and for a kid that's, you know, still only 20 years old. He's played a pretty decent role for them in the postseason. So Dallas seemed like they were clicking on all cylinders last night. Minnesota just looked like they were kind of stuck in neutral for a large chunk of that game.
You say Kyrie had a decent game. He matched Luka's 36. They were up 29 at the half.
Yeah.
And despite 28 points apiece from Anthony Edwards and Cat, just like you said, it never really seemed to be in doubt last night. So it's Boston and Dallas, and they start Wednesday. Is that right? Is that what you would say?
Next Thursday, June the 6th, and Boston has opened up as a pretty decent little favorite in that series. Probably not a real shock, but I think it's going to be a pretty fun series. And you mentioned Kyrie, let the Kyrie Boston banter begin, because
oh goodness,
buddy, that is going to be a fun little subplot to that game, that series, as the first two games will be next week in Beantown. So looking forward to an interesting finals. I think it's going to be pretty competitive. I do think that Boston probably does win. I wouldn't be totally shocked if Dallas rips off a little run and somehow wins the title, but I do think Boston is probably a just favorite as we head into next week's finals.
Boston, the number 1 seed coming out of the East, right?
Yep.
Dallas, the number 5 seed coming out of the West.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, now there are those that would tell you that the West is way tougher than the East. So maybe that balances things out a little bit, but still just looking at seeding, you would think that kind of favors Boston a little bit. They do have the home court advantage in this one. If it were to go to a game 7, it would be in Boston. So there's that. But like you said, it feels like it's Boston's championship to lose in this matchup.
I think so. And, I'm kind of one of those, I'm not going to say anti-Boston, but I mean, yeah, let's just face it. I mean, look at the road that Dallas has kind of had and look at the road that Boston's kind of had. But at the same time, you can only play who's on your schedule. And, Boston certainly the NBA was certainly salivating, thinking we might be looking at Boston and New York in the Eastern Conference Finals, or even Milwaukee, potentially once upon a time. But it didn't play out that way. And Boston finished the regular season with, 64 wins. They went 64-18. So it wasn't as if they were just a slouch in the regular season and kind of have just been going along here on cruise control. But Dallas has played well. Dallas is, worthy of making it, even though they were the 5 seed. And I think a lot of folks were kind of surprised that they knocked off the Thunder, myself included. I think a lot of folks were really surprised that they took care of Minnesota the way they did after Minnesota had gone in and defeated the defending champion Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, I don't think that was really expected. So, when you look at the road that Dallas has taken, you gotta give them their props. But this may be where the road runs out for them. So we will see starting next Thursday in Boston, as it's the Celtics and the Mavs. So stay tuned.
Game 1 will be Thursday. Game 2 is set for June the 9th. Series then shifts back to Dallas for 2. No longer the 2-3-2, but the 2-2-1-1-1, kind of like everybody else is accustomed to at this point. So it'll be a fun finals. Dallas, if they could come in and steal, obviously if they steal game 1, you're really thinking, maybe you recalibrate and reset your expectations for the series. But even if they could play close game 1 and then sneak one out in game 2, if they can get a road win, then all of a sudden I really think this is going to be a fun series. But if Boston holds serve, man, that's a lot of pressure on Dallas going back.
That's one of the things that they say about postseason play, regardless of the sport. When it's a series, it's not really a playoff series until somebody wins on the road, right?
Yep. So it's super cliche, but I honestly think that's how it's going to play out. If Dallas can kind of come in, set the tone. I mean, imagine the storylines, whether he has a great game or whether he has a dud next week, if Kyrie comes in and does something of note or no note.
Or doesn't do something of note. Yeah.
Either way, it's going to be a writer's dream for those 2 games next week.
And you mentioned earlier as we were discussing this, you said a subplot to this series. I'm not sure how sub it is.
To me, It's definitely going to be up there for sure. The other big storyline is, you have Tatum, who feels, I think, a little bit disrespected coming into this with so much hype about Luka. Just them two superstars going at each other is certainly going to be one of your major storylines. And then, yeah, right there with it, if not just slightly underneath it, is going to be Kyrie, who spent a couple of seasons up there in Boston, coming back to his old stomping ground. Somebody on social said, if I'm Kyrie, I'm not trusting any food that I don't cook
None.
myself
None.
in the city of Boston. So
None.
buckle up.
Yep. Just stay in. Sequester yourself.
And the interesting part too is, Luka, especially Kyrie to an extent, but Luka is a trash talking king, and he loves to give it. And it seems like he really gets agitated when he gets trash talked too. What do you think the crowd is going to be like in Boston? It's not as if he's walking into the nice rosy confines of southern Middle Tennessee or anything. I mean, he's walking into Boston where they're really going to let him have it, I feel like.
I would agree wholeheartedly. I definitely don't think that there's going to be a shh, don't talk to Luka. I don't think that's going to be the approach that they take. I mean, that movie Celtic Pride,
Yeah.
it was made for a reason, So that should be a lot of fun to keep an eye on, the Luka versus the Boston crowd. I mean, it kind of got going in that direction last night in Minnesota at the Target Center. So he, like you said, he seems to respond to that kind of thing as well. So you might want to be a little careful how you tread if you are the Celtics fans down close to the floor. Wade, I saw this morning as I was scrolling through Twitter, as I might want to do. Why Deion Sanders' son Shiloh filed for bankruptcy? What's next in Colorado safety's legal saga? So apparently, and on its face, it's like, wait a minute, we got college athletes in a financial situation that they need to declare bankruptcy. Well, it all goes back to a 10-year legal issue, apparently, where he was sued while he was in high school by a former security guard at his Dallas high school. And the suit resulted in a $12 million damages award to the security guard that he allegedly assaulted during a 2015 altercation at AAA Academy, where the security guard was left with damage to his spine and permanent neurological issues. So apparently, John Darjean's attorneys are, kind of going after Shiloh's NIL earnings, which I guess is what has really brought this to the fore and forced the bankruptcy declaration on Shiloh's part. But this is wild stuff on The Athletic. I mean, again, you've got college athletes declaring bankruptcy. What is he? 22, 23, maybe?
Yeah. And I can't speak for what his motivation or rationale is, but kind of as I'm perusing here through Yahoo, this obviously, as you mentioned, has been dragging on for a while. And some of it involves, court proceedings that Shiloh was in or not in on. And I'm even reading, he had an attorney for the early part of this, but then his attorneys actually asked to withdraw because they were saying that he was unwilling to cooperate or fund the attorney. So because of all of that, it kind of seems like it's reached this critical mass, and you can make the case, that, hey, I mean, I would think about this if I was 37 years old, whether I was 20 or not. You mean I could just declare? It's like Michael Scott on The Office. You can just walk out and you just say, I can declare bankruptcy, and then you can maybe completely eradicate all this. I think that seems to be, at least according to Yahoo, what Shiloh Sanders' kind of strategy is, in a sense, is trying to almost just clear everything out of the way, and then then he can get on with the rest of his life. And it's very, very unusual. Obviously, it's a straight up headline, jarring headline when you see that a college athlete is exploring filing bankruptcy. And in a weird way, this is the one guy that it kind of makes sense for, considering both he and his family.
Yeah, under the circumstances, I mean, if he is allowed to do it, then yeah, I can see where that would be something you would pursue. But this is definitely it just continues to illustrate that we are in a different time in college athletics right now.
Yep, joined Colorado as a graduate student, and according to his Chapter 7 filing, he had a gross income of roughly $193,000 last year. And then, entering final college season this fall. And that's what I'm wondering is, if you've got an NFL career potentially on the horizon, do you want to just go ahead and clear this out of the way so you can kind of get on with that chapter of your life? You don't want percentages and things and legal proceedings kind of hanging around as you begin potentially your NFL career. At least that's the way that I'm potentially thinking about it if I'm Shiloh. But of course, obviously I'm not. So I'm not totally sure what his motivation or strategy is here at the moment, but it is unusual.
It is certainly unusual. It is certainly something to keep an eye on, and I'm sure we will. When we continue on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, following this break, we will be joined by Nashville Sounds play-by-play voice Jeff Hem. Stay tuned when we return to the Lee Company studios after this.
Bluegrass Auction Associates is hosting another real estate auction Saturday, June 8th at 10 a.m. in the beautiful Hickory Woods subdivision. This spacious estate offers numerous amenities, perfect for the homeowner or investor. Conveniently located in Davidson County, Tennessee at 221 Wild Grove Court. This is the sale you don't want to miss. Join Bluegrass and bid with confidence Saturday, June 8th at 10 a.m.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
It's the weekend update here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton along with Wade Neely. And we are now joined by the Nashville Sounds play-by-play voice, Jeff Hem, coming to us from AutoZone Park in Memphis. Jeff, have you had any barbecue nachos yet?
I have not had barbecue nachos, but I've had some good ribs so far.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right.
It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man, that place is way too close to Rendezvous.
Well, and the ballpark is, we actually don't stay right downtown anymore, but we're right near a place, and there are multiple locations around the market, but Central Barbecue. So that's where the ribs have come from. But it's funny, I was in line yesterday at Central Barbecue, and these folks behind me are chatting about something, and I gathered the lady either was from Nashville or had just been in Nashville. She's raving about Edley's barbecue to the people in line with her, and I'm just kind of nodding along like, yeah, Edley's is pretty good. So, but Central Barbecue here in Memphis, very good ribs, and I partook yesterday.
Awesome. I would have been tempted to turn around and mention peg leg, but
Peg leg is good. Martin's is good. I mean, they're all, I shouldn't say they're all. There are a lot of very good ones in Nashville.
Key question, really, Jeff, for your rib partaking. What color shirt did you have on, and did it survive the experience?
It did survive. Let's see. It would have been like a dark gray, like a charcoal colored shirt. But the key is it was like a workout shirt, and I was not, wearing my game ready for that night polo. It was like, no, I'm still going to the hotel room again before I have to go to the ballpark, just in case there was an incident with the ribs.
Things can go awry sometimes. So that's good planning by you.
Now, to follow up on that, are you a wet or a dry rib guy?
Well, I like them both, just kind of depending on where I'm at in the, in the country. Like when we're in the Carolinas, and you get the different kind there. So, but here they were wet with, but I like when they're done with where I'm wanting more sauce, and then I can dip if I want to, rather than some places you get them and it's like, are you trying to cover up that your meat's not very good because these are loaded in sauce?
Yes, sir.
So I will say Central Barbecue does it right. It's the perfect amount, and then you get the little cup next to you in case you need to add on a little bit.
Sauce optional. Love it.
Yes,
Love it.
Yes. These are all the things that I'm sure your viewers were hoping that we would discuss today.
People who have watched us pretty much for the length of the show realize that from time to time, food does creep into the dialogue. And so here we are. And I mean, barbecue in sports, it's almost a given. But at any rate, we will get back to baseball here. Carlos Rodriguez, not much to show for it last night. In fact, an L to show for it, but threw really well in that 3-1 loss.
Yeah, he's been great. It's 4 straight quality starts now. April was a rough month for him. He made some adjustments. He got adjusted to some things that are a little bit different at AAA. And, 22 years old, top 10 Brewers prospect, and a 2-time Brewers minor league pitcher of the year award winner. So when you have that pedigree and that sort of status, the expectation is high, and he is pitching now to that expectation. It's been fun. And in an age where it feels like sometimes everybody throws 97, 98, it's really fun to watch guys get swing and misses with less than that as far as velocity goes. And Carlos, pretty impressive to be 22 years old and truly have 6 different pitches that he can be confident to throw at any point, in any count, any outing. Any one of those 6 could be kind of the leading pitch for him. because a lot of times you'd have a pitching coach or an organization somewhere along the line be like, all right, that's cute that you had those years ago. This is pro ball. We need to narrow that down. He's got them all, and the Brewers embrace it. They're not trying to get him off of that. There's no reason to. He's a very mature pitcher for his age. He's pitched in the World Baseball Classic already for his native Nicaragua. So there's just a lot there that is very impressive for this young guy, and it's fun to watch him pitching the way he can, and there's no reason to think he's going to slow down. And he's part of a very good pitching staff that the Sounds have right now.
You know, you bring up an excellent point, Jeff, because a lot of folks, and again, I covered some minor league baseball for a while. A lot of folks just feel like they have to put their hands on somebody. If a guy can execute 6 pitches when he needs to execute them, why would you tell him not to?
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes, I will say sometimes organizations are right. Sometimes a guy might have had let's just pick a pitch, a slider in college that doesn't have the spin or the tunneling that can get professional hitters out. There are reasons why sometimes teams will say, we need to move off of that pitch or we need to tweak that pitch.
Sure.
And I'm sure there is tweaking going on with Carlos Rodriguez, but there's no reason to think that any of those 6 pitches needs to be left by the wayside. And the Brewers are as good as any organization out of the 30 major league teams at developing pitching. And I think, and I've had these conversations with their pitching coaches, their pitching coordinators, their pitching infrastructure, they are really good at going to a pitcher and saying, hey, this is what you do really well. We're going to try to make that even better, instead of saying, that's great, but here's what we do here, and here's what you're going to become. Easier said than done, but I think the good organizations enhance what guys can do. There are some around the game that don't like the 4-seam fastball. They think it's too hitter-friendly of a pitch. Tobias Myers has a really good 4-seam fastball. He's been in other organizations, and when he was here, he's with the Brewers now, but when he was here, he said, yeah, some other organizations tried to, make me throw it less, or they weren't in on my 4-seam fastball. I came to the Brewers and they said, we like it. We think it can be a major league pitch. We're not going to tell you not to throw it. Here's some things we could do to make it even better. So you have to be able to coach a player based off their strengths and enhancing those strengths. You can only turn a weakness into a strength so much when you're already at this level at AAA where everybody is major league good, even if they're not in the major leagues.
You mentioned Carlos Rodriguez, the 2-time Brewers minor league pitcher of the year. You really don't want to be the 3-time Brewers minor league pitcher of the year, do you?
Well, you can be if you're only 22. I mean, if he got it in A-ball and he got it between A-ball and AA, and but I know where you're going with that. I mean, I think if he keeps stringing all these together, he becomes a very viable option sooner rather than later for the Brewers. But look, it's a long list of guys that are on that list right now. We've already seen guys going up and down. They've got several pitchers on the Sounds roster who are on the 40-man roster. So I'm not in the business of predicting when a guy is going to get a call up, but it's possible that just because there's a long list, Rodriguez is here for a while, and maybe he becomes the 3-time pitcher of the year. But you'd like to think that somewhere along the line that becomes a big league opportunity too.
Speaking of the long line, what's the latest on Gasser? Because the last I checked on him, he was still pitching lights out up there.
He is still pitching. Gasser update, still pitching lights out. That's where it's at. I'll look it up because I've got it right here. He had another quality start, not just a quality start by the definition of what you can get as a quality start, but he dominated the Cubs the other night going up against Justin Steele, and his ERA at the major league level is under 2 still, and he is now, I believe, 4 starts in. So Robert Gasser is, but again, it's fascinating because this is not the norm. Even though Gasser is really good, you don't expect a guy to go to the big leagues and dominate right away. So there will be, you would think, if the odds are in any indication, there will be a coming back to the norm a little bit. He is 2-0 with a 1.96 ERA through his first 4 starts. and that is against the Cardinals, the Pirates, the Marlins, and the Cubs. So pretty wide spectrum of level of offense there.
Sure.
So it's fun, man. It is fun to watch Gasser. And the coolest part is, again, these guys don't have to be anything dramatically different when they go to the big leagues. He's using the same pitches. He's attacking the same way. Obviously, there are some better hitters overall up there than you're going to see down here, but it's not like all of a sudden he's a different pitcher. He's doing the same thing up there that he did down here. And a lot of times the common answer when I talk to guys who are back from their first stint in the big leagues, they say, look, I'm not saying they're not good up there, but they always say some variation of, I've realized I can hang up there, or my stuff plays up there. I can play up there. It's just a matter of getting a long enough opportunity to really show it. And sometimes guys, just the mercy of other circumstances, don't get that long opportunity. But it's really fun to see Gasser go up, and you watch the clips and you're like, yeah, I've seen that pitch. I've seen that pitch. I've seen him do that. He's just doing it on a bigger stage, and that never gets old.
And
Jeff,
one thing
who are some of the go ahead, Mo. No,
I was just going to say that we've said on this show that the path is typically not linear, and we see guys go up and come back. Gasser may have been up there a little bit longer than we would have anticipated this time around. And, you know, should he get sent back, it won't necessarily be through any fault of his, because you see guys come back down trying to, you know, kind of manipulate their workload a little bit when they've not been used to throwing every fifth day and that kind of thing. And so there could be different factors in a return to AAA for Gasser than his effectiveness, but his effectiveness looks like it's going to be way down the line should that take place.
Yeah, you're right. There are so many things that could have a guy sent down, and sometimes it's just, especially for a reliever, hey, you threw 40 pitches last night. We know we can't use you for 2 days. You're going to go down because we need somebody else who's got a fresh arm. And we've seen that happen a lot in the bullpen. Jansen Junk, Tobias Myers, Jared Koenig, Kevin Herget is up there now. Any number of guys go up, and because they get used, they get sent down just because the Brewers might need another fresh arm. It's a first place team, and whenever there's a contending big league team, the AAA team can get utilized a different way than if you're at the bottom of your division and you're just trying to figure out who can stick for your long-term future. That's not where the Brewers are. Thankfully, it's fun to see the position they're in. And there are, I mean, almost 10, I think right now, 10 different guys up there who've played for the Sounds just this year. So pretty cool stuff.
Jeff, who's swinging a hot bat right now for Nashville, and who's maybe one or two guys that you anticipate, if they're not, they're about to get going through this weekend and maybe in that home stretch next week?
Yeah, it's, you know, we talk about guys going up to the big leagues and the path not being linear. I think Tyler Black is in that category. He's got all the tools in the world. He had 3 hits and a home run 2 nights ago in a Sounds win. He's not had offensively the May that he had in April, but it's all there. And I think there's no reason to think that Tyler can't heat up a little bit more at the plate. Isaac Collins has been terrific, really, from the jump this year. A fun conversation I had with him yesterday on my pregame show, because the first time I had him on pregame was back in April when he was sort of, I'm happy to be here. Roster spots were tight. I'm glad I got one. I just want to stay here. He's hit and played his way into everyday middle of the order status now on this team. You talk about earning your opportunity. That's what it's all about, whether it's from AA to AAA or AAA to the big leagues. Isaac Collins has become a guy in that Sounds lineup that teams on the other side need to be aware of. Pitchers have to work him carefully and pay a little bit more attention to maybe early in the year when he was lower in the order. So that's been a really fun progression to watch. Every year, I think part of the fun is that while, of course, and I do it too, we pay attention to the high prospect rankings and, you know, the former first rounders and things like that. Every year at AAA, there are also a couple of guys who aren't on those lists, maybe are overlooked or have been overlooked in one way or another in their career, and their performance just demands that they deserve some attention. And right now, I think that's Isaac Collins in the lineup, and that's Chad Patrick in the starting rotation. Those are 2 guys who just, based on pure performance, they make you can't look away from what they're doing. Now, I'm not saying they're getting called up tomorrow or whatever, but they continue to put themselves in that conversation of you should take notice purely based on how they're performing, not draft status or 40-man roster status or anything like that.
Yeah, at some point, a hot bat is a hot bat, and
Yep.
if you're having a great season, you're having a great season. And I like the way you put it. You're kind of forcing your way into the conversation. It sounds like.
And that's the way big league team. That's for the prospects too. That's what the big league team wants. The big league team wants to be in a situation where they're looking at AAA and they're like, we can't not call this guy up. This guy is just performing too well that we have to find a way to see if that translates to the big league level. That's what you want, rather than, well, we're down a man because of an injury. Give us somebody from Nashville. You want it to be where you've got 3 or 4 guys performing well and a tough decision needs to be made because of an opportunity being earned. And I think that's happening for some of these Sounds players. We'll see if it leads to a big league chance, but at least they're doing all they can to be in that conversation.
Jeff Ham, the play-by-play announcer for the Nashville Sounds, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Jeff, we missed you last week because we were tied up with spring fling and that kind of thing. It's kind of unfortunate because you guys took 5 of 6 over at Charlotte, and really, I don't know if got things headed in the right direction is the right way to characterize it, but you have to feel pretty good about coming out of there the way you did.
Yeah, that was a good homestand because that long 2-week trip was positive through Durham and Jacksonville. And so when you come home and you're taking on a team that's well under 500, like Charlotte is and has been the last few years, to take care of business against them is what should happen. And it was what happened. So to take 5 out of 6, and it wasn't just that they won 5 games. I think what Rick Sweet liked about it was the consistency. There were some deficits and there were comebacks and there were good at-bats and good starting pitching, and just the foundation of how they won 5 out of 6 was a really good sign. And now, they've taken 1 of the first 3 here against a really good Memphis team. We'll see how the weekend goes, but continuing to send guys up to a first-place Brewers team, and you've got a Sounds team that's just over 500. So, a lot of things to like about where we are as we approach June.
Coming home for a 6-game series starting Tuesday against Louisville, the Cincinnati Reds AAA affiliate.
And their only trip to town, and we only go to Louisville once this year. So I'm going to try really hard here not to go on a scheduled tangent. When you've got a team that's 2.5 hours away, plus we know that there are plenty of Reds fans in Nashville, so we're not shy to say we like when the Sounds play Louisville because there are people who want to come to games for that reason. So it's their only trip, and I'll leave it there.
It's funny, when the Sounds were in the Pacific Coast League, there were scheduling rants, and now there are still. I guess we are just in a place geographically where not a whole lot makes sense.
And in a 20-team league, so admittedly, it's really hard to have any kind of a balanced schedule. And the Pacific Coast League is now 10 teams, so their scheduling, of course, is going to make a lot more sense. So that part is just a challenge, and unless that's going to change, you're always going to have at least some component of the schedule that maybe isn't going to make a lot of sense. But for years, when we were in the PCL, it was like, hey, the Sounds aren't far from Indianapolis. The Sounds aren't far from Louisville. We never play those guys. Well, now we're in that league. We play Indianapolis 6 times this year, and we play Louisville only 12. So it's like the problem got solved, but it's still a problem. So that's what's a little odd about it, is like now we're in the league that we always should have been in, where we're closer geographically to some of these teams, and yet we don't play them. And you think, okay, well then who do you play? You must play a lot of those other teams, but the Sounds only play, I think, 9 or 10 out of the other 19 in the league. So it's still again. Now you got me going, Mo. I'm going to stop on this schedule.
Well, I'm going to ask this question and get you off of it, or I'm going to ask this question and then I'm going to get you off of it. Can't we just bring the American Association back?
Well, if you're really going to try to have a AAA schedule that would make sense, that is in my opinion, a very viable solution. Because if you drew some vertical lines and divided the country into thirds, you in theory could have three different
10-team
10-team
leagues.
leagues. Yep. And again, still, is it perfect? No. Are
No.
there still some geographics in that wouldn't make sense? Yes. But you at least could have a little bit more alignment and continuity to the schedule, or have one AAA quote unquote league, and maybe every other year the Sounds do play a Tacoma, or the Sounds do play a Scranton, or they play, but at least you're playing everybody over time instead of being in a 20-team league where I'm looking at the standings right now. The Sounds are behind Buffalo, Syracuse, and Scranton among a few
None
other
of whom
teams.
they play.
We don't play them at all this year. We don't play them at all. So, and again, I understand if you're Major League Baseball, that's not your focal point in building your standings and your schedule. I get it, but then don't have that. It's just pick a lane. It would be what I'm saying. Either admit something or cater it to make a little bit more sense relative to what you're trying to show as standings and a playoff chase and just some geographical regularity. How's that?
He's on.
I love it. I love it because I agree wholeheartedly. That's why I'm not bothered by your rant. In fact, I kind of encourage it. But Jeff Hem, the voice of the Nashville Sounds, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Always great stuff, and we appreciate it. Tell me something. There's not an Ellie De La Cruz at Louisville now, is there?
There is not.
Good.
There is not. They've got. I mean, they're a good team.
Or bad. I mean, I guess it would be nice to come out and see that kind of talent. But who are they touting right now? What do you know about them as far as that goes?
And that's the thing. Like, I'm calling games for the Sounds. I want the Sounds to go 150-0. But I enjoy seeing really good talent on the other side. That makes all of this more fun. So, we're here in Memphis, and they've got a bunch of Cardinals prospects on this team that gets the juice going in the game. That's what makes it fun. So selfishly, like, I never got to see Ellie De La Cruz play in person. He was not at Louisville for very long. Now, we've seen a lot of the other young Reds, Spencer Steer and Matt McLean, and some of those guys who were up there. We did see them come through Louisville, but I never got to see Ellie. And we've not seen the Bats in about a month. And at that time, they didn't have a lot of highly regarded prospects. They were a good team, but they weren't led by a lot of prospects. So it'll be in some ways a fresh look at them for me too when they come to town, because if I were to look at the Sounds roster from late April, there have been some changes there too. So I'm sure it's a little bit different Louisville ball club coming in, but they are a little bit quote unquote down, I think, in terms of volume of prospects, just because so many of them are in Cincinnati now, because they've had so many good ones to call up in the last 2-3 years.
Last question. How's Jordan Walker doing for Memphis?
Well, Jordan Walker is hitting lasers in this series. Now, some of them are being caught, which for the Sounds is a very good thing.
Right.
But he has had, because I wrote this down going into last night, so let me look at it. He has had now 13 at-bats in this series, and he has hit 5 balls with an exit velo of 108 or greater.
Or more.
Yes, 5 of them. 5 of them out of what did I just say? 13 at-bats?
13.
I think 5 out of 13, not just barrel balls, but 108 or greater off the bat. Now, I understand he did not have a great April in St. Louis, so I know why he's down here. But if you're looking for hard contact and you're in St. Louis, you're waving your hand for Jordan Walker right now.
And Jordan Walker is waving his hand at them. It's like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
Well, and they just put Lars Nootbaar on the injured list, but they called up, at least this time, they called up Jose Fermin, who's also hitting well down here for Memphis. But at least for now, Walker and Victor Scott II are batting 1-2 for Memphis rather than being in St. Louis. But like you said, man, I always go back to this. This is not a linear path. This is one game, and other sports are similar, but man, this is one. It is just not linear, even for the most highly touted of prospects. It is rare to go to the big leagues and never go back to AAA. So the future still, there's no reason to think it's not bright for a Jordan Walker or a Victor Scott just because they had 1 month in the big leagues where they hit around the Mendoza line.
And Jordan Walker is probably at the point where I'm not playing for one team. I'm playing for 30 at this point.
Could be. Yeah. I mean, that is a reality of AAA ball, and players are reminded of that all the time. I mean, there are always teams watching. There are always trade conversations going on behind the scenes that don't come to fruition, or waiver claims that are being considered. So, not that the Cardinals are going to dangle Walker on waivers, but the point is teams are always looking and always talking. So you're right. Is his future with somebody else? Who knows? But there are plenty of teams who are well aware of what Jordan Walker can still be.
Absolutely. Jeff, we appreciate it.
Have a
Enjoy
good
Memphis.
weekend, guys.
Do you see another trip to Central this weekend?
I could see that. I could see that in my future. We also come back here right before the 4th of July. So, it's in my future in one way or the other.
One way or another.
Love that.
Love it. Jeff, we appreciate it, man. We'll catch up
All
with
right.
you.
Thank
See
you,
you
Jeff.
guys.
Hey, when we come back to the Lee Company Studios on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, we'll be talking a little bit more baseball. Stay tuned after the break.
The wild horses are coming to Franklin. The Mustang Heritage Spectacular. 4 days of celebrity freestyle, liberty training, trick riding, and extreme Mustang makeover. Plus the shopping. Over 100 vendor spaces with clothing, food, home goods, and things you can't find anywhere else. All that and celebrity signings at a music stage too. June 20th through 23rd at Williamson County Ag Expo Park. Don't miss a moment with a weekend pass. MustangHeritageFoundation.org for tickets.
Hello, race fans, and welcome to Nashville Superspeedway.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Superspeedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
May 31st, 1958. With one out in the top of the first inning, Hank Aaron, Eddie Matthews, and Wes Covington hit back-to-back-to-back solo home runs, and the Milwaukee Braves never trailed in an eventual 8-3 win at Pittsburgh. The three were a combined 7-15 on the day as Milwaukee pounded out 18 hits in the victory, including a 3-for-4 effort by Warren Spahn, who scattered 8 hits in the complete game decision and improved to 8-1 with the win. That was this day in Braves history. Remember when the Braves used to be able to score runs?
Back to back to back.
Yes, sir. Lasers. They didn't keep up with exit velo back then, but I'm sure that those were hit pretty hard as well to get out of Forbes Field, which I think at the time was one of the bigger fields in baseball. So, yeah, back to back to back.
Any offense could use that, but certainly Atlanta's right now.
Certainly Atlanta's right now, as the Braves fell again last night 3-1 at home to Washington. The Nats completing a series victory, taking 3 of 4 at Truist Park. And so, so much for the schedule should help because it didn't. And so, again, got Oakland coming in tonight to start a 3-game series, 6:20 tonight, 3:10 tomorrow, and 12:35 on Sunday, as we mentioned during the rundown. The Athletics coming off of a 6-5 loss last night at Tampa Bay. They are 23-35 on the year, but I don't know that matters. So.
Yeah, got to play them one game at a time at this point because
man, times are tough. I mean, and this, if it were as simple as, well, Ronald Acuna got hurt, but they were struggling before that. So I don't know what it is. And it's tough because the pitching is doing enough. And this offense that was so vaunted and so great last year hasn't had a whole lot of changes to it, really. So I don't know what the deal is. But I expect Alex Anthopoulos to have a feel for what the deal is and to do something to address it. So stay tuned as far as that goes. Wade, your guys got out of town on a good note.
Snuck out a dub. Good little win. We talked yesterday about how they wasted a good effort from Verlander, but Arrighetti, he got a nice effort on the mound last night, and he was shades of a young Verlander. I mean, he was racking up strikeouts, ended the night with 8 in just 6 innings, only gave up 2 hits.
Against that offense, that's not bad.
Yeah, but got scoreless production, from everybody as Montero came in for the bullpen worked out kind of like they had hoped in the preseason with Montero, Presley, and Hader going 1, 2, 3. Hader ironically gave up the last 2 hits of the night. The other 2 guys were basically scoreless or hitless rather.
Hitless.
So it was a good night for Houston, but who knows? They've been so up and down this season. Maybe it'll be start of something new, or maybe it'll just be a one flash in the pan situation. They got Minnesota coming in for a couple games here this weekend.
Yeah, they got Minnesota 7:10 tonight, 3:10 tomorrow, and 12:05 on Sunday at Minute Maid. Does the return, and I'm losing the last name, the shortstop, Carlos
Correa.
Yeah. Does his return to Houston, does that create any juice for anybody at this point, or has he been gone so long that it's not a big deal?
Probably gone enough that it's been a bit of a, not as much of a deal. But if you're looking for something, and they're a team that's kind of looking for something right now, maybe that'll be just enough to get the fans riled up and just enough to maybe get them going. Minnesota's been playing pretty well this year, so it'd be nice for Houston. I mean, they're Minnesota 6 games above 500, Houston 7 games below 500, and they got a losing record at home at the moment. They're 1 game below 500 at home. So it'd be nice. Yeah, you can't turn no stone should be left unturned in terms of motivation at this point. So that might be something to use in your power.
There we go. Like you said, the Twins 31-25. They won 7-6 yesterday against Kansas City to close out that series. You know, we've talked a little bit about the Mets and their week of woes. Young right-hander Christian Scott, who is a guy they've had a lot of hopes for coming up through the organization, and third baseman Brett Beatty, who has been up and down. As you know, Jeff Hem mentioned, it's not a linear path for a lot of these guys. Well, they are both going backwards because they were both optioned down to AAA Syracuse earlier today. Also, catcher Omar Narvaez has been designated for assignment. So that roster for the Mets, as they are double digits under 500, is starting to turn over. Speaking of no stones left unturned, they are trying to figure some things out up there as well, and watching the Phillies kind of put everybody in their rearview mirror. So we'll see what happens with the Mets. That's going to do it for our number 1 of the weekend update here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, we will turn our attention to college baseball and softball postseason play. Stay tuned after this break.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Hour number 2 of the weekend update here on Main Street Sports Today starts right now. I'm Maurice Patton along with Wade Neely. And Wade, we are having a better Friday than the Vanderbilt Commodores.
No doubt about it. We kind of touted them earlier in the week a little bit, and not good for the Commodores.
No, not good at all. 13-3. The Commodores fall to Coastal Carolina in a clash of former national champions, quiet as it's kept. But like you said, we had kind of touted Vanderbilt a little bit with their performance down in Hoover last week. Felt like they had picked up a little momentum, a little confidence. Spoke with Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 on Monday about that, and he seemed cautiously optimistic about this team going over to Clemson as the number 2 seed. And, Vanderbilt's had some success over at Clemson in this role, but they certainly did not get off to a great start. J.D. Thompson got the start for Vanderbilt and got knocked around, and then it was kind of a parade in from the bullpen once Thompson came out. And again, the offense just never really got going. I think it was 8-1 at one point and 11-1 at one point before it finally got to 13-3 to finish it up with the Chanticleers winning that one. So Vanderbilt will play the Clemson High Point loser in an elimination game tomorrow. Coastal and Clemson will meet up, and I'm sure the stands will be full for that one between two South Carolina rivals. So should be fun. And we'll see if Vanderbilt can extend its postseason life tomorrow. We've talked a lot about Birmingham Southern here in the last few days. The school officially closes today. The baseball team officially opens its Division III College World Series run in about 40 minutes up at Eastlake, Ohio, against second seed Salve Regina. Don't ask me where it is because I don't know. But, with a story like they've got, I mean, they've been getting attention from all over the country, and not just from, sports media outlets. I mean, it's been mainstream. National Public Radio has an article on them. I think the New York Times, which it might have been the Athletic, I'm not sure, but there are a lot of, quote, mainstream media outlets paying attention to Birmingham Southern story right now. And, you wish them well. I mean, it would just be a nice little final hat tip to maybe grab some hardware as they go out the door, literally as a school. So
yeah, gonna be fun to keep tabs on them. And you touched on it. This is a story it's kind of going beyond the sports realm, but it is cool. Topps has came out now with an official trading card for BSC. You can actually buy it online. I'm finding for like $10, which would be kind of cool if you're into keepsakes. And then the other thing is they've had a documentary film crew that's been following them around. And who knows if, that'll ever end up seeing the light of day. But apparently it's the same crew that produced Two-A-Days back in the day on MTV back in the day. So same executive producer and whatnot. So they're kind of, how much they sought that out, I'm not sure. But whether they did or didn't, the BSC baseball team is kind of cashing in on this last ride, so to speak.
Absolutely. And, In sports, Wade, everybody loves an underdog. Is there a bigger underdog than a team that doesn't have a school?
Hard to find one. You can stream the game at ncaa.com, which you mentioned starts at 3:45. So that will be something to keep tabs on throughout the weekend. We'll be rooting for the guys down there or
The
up
Panthers.
there, the Panthers, as they are up in Ohio. And who knows? I mean, talk about a wild story. If they could make any sort of run, it's already reached a pretty cool level, but if they can make any sort of run in this tournament, it would just be insane.
Absolutely. Let's look at this bracket real quick because again, they open here within the hour against Salve Regina out of Newport, Rhode Island, by the way. If they win that one, they would play tomorrow against the winner of the Wisconsin Whitewater and Randolph Macon matchup. That is at 7 o'clock tonight. Earlier today, Misericordia defeated Pomona Pfizer 6-3, and Lynchburg defeated Endicott 6-2. Lynchburg, the defending D3 state champion. I'm sorry, Lynchburg is up 6-2 in the top of the ninth, so they have not won that yet, but Lynchburg is the defending D3 national champion, so keep an eye on them as well. That's in the other side of the bracket there. That winner would take on Misericordia at 12:15 tomorrow, followed by the elimination game in that side of the bracket at 9 a.m. So somebody could be headed home before noon tomorrow. That's tough. Yeah.
Big tough. Hey, speaking of, you mentioned seeds. Already some other upsets today. Evansville is the 4 seed, knocked off East Carolina in a game that is now final 4-1. That's the 1 seed, East Carolina, that goes down. And Kentucky survives a late scare, Mo. They were clobbering Western Michigan earlier, but they had to hang on for a 10-8 victory in their regional today. And then a game that I've kind of been real quick, game that I've been keeping my eyes on too. Army is tied with Georgia 7-7 in the 8th inning, and Georgia just got out of another jam. They've been in and out of jams all afternoon. Army left a couple of guys on in the top of the 8th with a chance to score. So some interesting score lines in these early games today.
Yeah, West Virginia is up on Dallas Baptist 3-0 right now in the top of the 5th, by the way. But, going back to that Evansville, East Carolina game, Chris Lee, when we talked to him this week, Chris Lee from Southeastern 14 said he wasn't sure that East Carolina deserved to host.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the Evansville Aces kind of proved that out to some degree. And so now I don't know who the number 3 is over there, but number 2 is Wake Forest. And that regional matches up with Knoxville. And so
VCU is your 3 seed there.
So it'll be VCU and Wake in the late game tonight then, right?
Yep. And talk about, potentially a nice setup for Wake Forest. Obviously, if you can go out and win that game, and then you, in theory, have a much easier matchup versus Evansville.
I mean, what if you got out of there without ever seeing the number 1 seed?
I mean, East Carolina losing at home, in Greenville. And I swear I thought I saw this earlier. There's been we'll ask Ben about this a little bit later. I know the Knoxville Regional has been really getting a lot of attention for the ticket prices, but the Greenville Regional, I swear I saw a StubHub receipt on social this week that ticket was a really hot commodity for some reason as well. So, imagine you blow all your money, your hard-earned cash to watch your Pirates, and then they come out and stub their toe versus Evansville in the first game of the afternoon.
Yeah, and you're going to be playing early tomorrow, I would imagine, for your postseason life. So, that's always fun. Women's College World Series opened yesterday out in Oklahoma City. Alabama, the number 14 national seed, getting out there by defeating Tennessee twice in Knoxville. Well, they fell 4-1 to UCLA in the opener yesterday. Oklahoma with a 9-1 6-inning win over Duke. Texas blanking Stanford 4-0, and Florida in a classic with a 1-0 win over Oklahoma State, right in the Cowgirls' backyard there, basically. So you got elimination games today. I guess Alabama and Duke are probably playing right now, followed by Stanford and Oklahoma State. What do we got?
And you mentioned it, Florida with that 1-0 win. That's a nail biter to say the least. Texas, as we've discussed over the last couple of weeks, are going to be a tough out for anybody, and they kind of took care of business pretty easily versus Stanford last night.
Absolutely. Alabama UCLA is at 7:00, and I'm assuming that that's Eastern time because it's followed by Stanford and Oklahoma State at 9:30. Yeah, both those times are Eastern. So Alabama, Duke at 6 our time, Stanford and Oklahoma State to follow. So we will be keeping an eye on those as well.
And you mentioned Oklahoma. We were on the show yesterday, and I told everybody that Duke was leading 1-0, and then you we saw what happens. They lose 9-1. Oklahoma came to life in a big way.
The Lady Devils got their attention apparently. So yeah, and the run rule in college is 8 runs, so that's why it was 9-1 and 6. But yeah, the Sooners, what are they? 2-time defending?
I thought we said 3 even.
3?
But, at least 2 for sure.
I think you're right. I think they are the 3-time defending national champions, looking for a 4th as they, go out the door of the Big 12 and head toward the SEC. Oh, did you see where Texas has a huge welcome to the SEC festival planned in Austin this weekend?
Saw some chatter about that, and I thought that the person that shared that said it was kind of funny that for a school that kind of basically thumbed their nose at the SEC for such a long time now is just, rolling out the red carpet and is so excited about it. This person does have allegiances to another school in the state of Texas for what it's worth. But, that is kind of interesting that, they got the all-day SEC celebration coming up at the end of June.
Yeah, from 1 to 10, literally all day. Inaugural SEC event, live music, fireworks show, first opportunity to get Texas SEC merch, photo ops with Texas Traditions, Bevo, and more, live broadcast by the SEC Network, and food trucks. Because you can't have a celebration without food trucks, right? So, yeah. And that's crazy that, like you said, for all of the anti-SEC sentiment that they threw at you for so long, they're going to celebrate for 9 hours that they're coming. So,
Oklahoma, by the way, champs in 16, 17, and then, the last 3, 21, 22, 23.
So 5 since 2016.
And 6 since 2013. 2000, they've won in 2000,
16,
2013, 16, 17, 21,
and the last
22,
3.
23. Yep.
And they didn't
with
play
with a couple of runner-ups in there as well in 12 and 19. So they pretty good at softball.
They are the standard.
I'm combing through their wiki. Yeah, this is it's pretty wild to look at.
This SEC celebration still kind of blows my mind. President Jay Hartzell, UT's move. Ooh. UT's move to the Southeastern Conference is an extraordinary event extraordinary moment, for Texas athletics, Longhorn Nation, and our entire university. It is only fitting that we celebrate this occasion with a Texas-sized party on the 40 acres, open to all. We are excited to bring our passion, history, and commitment to excellence to our new conference, and this event will be a chance to highlight the university's winning tradition and all it means to be a Longhorn. Located in the heart of the live music capital of the world, the SEC celebration will feature star-studded concerts on the Tower stage, including a headlining performance at 9 p.m. by to be announced global superstar. Live music will kick off at 5:30. So get your tickets now. Head on out to Austin. It's going to be a party on June 30th.
And I bet Matt McConaughey will be there. And
you think?
I bet he'll be there. And I've mentioned it a time or two on this show over the last year or so, but Chris Del Conte, their athletic director, He's a great guy. He's a great fundraiser, but man, he knows how to party and he knows how to brand that school. So it's not surprising with him at the helm that Texas is going to blow things out of the water as they make their first move or first foray into the SEC now.
Well, should be fun. Something to look forward to. Mark, am I still frozen?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay, good. That's good. I just saw your note here that I had been frozen for some time at some point, but yeah. So I thought Wade could hear me. I guess you can hear me. Life is good. Let's go ahead and take okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, hopefully I will still be unfrozen, and we will be joined by Ben McKee of GoVols247.com. Stay with us.
Nashville Super Speedway.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Super Speedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Wild horses are coming to Franklin. The Mustang Heritage Spectacular. 4 days of celebrity freestyle, liberty training, trick riding, and extreme Mustang makeover. Plus the shopping. Over 100 vendor spaces with clothing, food, home goods, and things you can't find anywhere else. All that and celebrity signings at a music stage too. June 20th through 23rd at Williamson County Ag Expo Park. Don't miss a moment with a weekend pass. MustangHeritageFoundation.org for tickets.
The weekend update edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, continues right here from the Lee Company studios. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. And we are now joined by noted New York Yankees fan, Sans Cap, Ben McKee. talking a little Vols baseball as they get ready to open the Knoxville Regional against number 4 seed Northern Kentucky. Ben, what's up?
Good afternoon. Hope y'all are doing well. Appreciate y'all having me on as always.
No, man, we
Yes, sir.
appreciate you coming on. Hey, before we go any further, how's the little one?
Little one is doing well. He and both of my little ones are actually in Huntsville, Alabama, with my wife at the in-laws. My wife has her 10-year high school reunion. I don't know if she wants me to admit that here on the show today, but
We won't tell her you said it.
Right. Your secret's safe with us.
Exactly.
Y'all are good people. That's why I like y'all. So she's in Huntsville for her high school reunion this weekend. So I actually have the weekend to myself, although I will be very busy with Tennessee baseball this weekend. And I've got squeeze play on, which is showing all the NCAA tournament action. So the house is quiet, but it'll be busy for me, especially here in about 2.5 hours.
There you go. That's the way to do it with that squeeze play. Absolutely. So is the first game ongoing now? Southern Miss in it? No, first game is over with. I saw a score on
Yes,
that. Who
it
won
ended about
Indiana?
20 minutes ago.
Who won that?
Indiana did. I think the final score was 8-4 or so, something along those lines. I may or may not have slept for the ninth inning for a couple of minutes there, but Indiana's bats looked good, and I was kind of curious to see how that lineup would play out in Lindsey Nelson Stadium. On paper, I really liked it. I'll be the first to admit that I have not watched a lot of Indiana baseball this season. But on paper, they've got a lot of dudes that can rake and a lot of older guys as well, which I really like this time of year in tournament play, whether it's baseball or basketball or really any sport playing playoff competition. So Indiana's bats looked really good, got the Southern Miss's best pitcher, Billy Oldham. And now Indiana awaits the winner of Tennessee Northern Kentucky. That game will take place tomorrow night. And then the loser of Tennessee Northern Kentucky will play in an elimination game tomorrow, I think at noon or 1 o'clock with their season on the line.
Ben, did you kind of chuckle when you saw the Knoxville Regional and you saw Southern Miss coming into Knoxville as the number 2?
Yes, I did. I thought it was the NCAA selection committee is not slick. That was my initial reaction is that they are not slick at all. And the baseball tournament is a little more regional in terms of seeding teams than the basketball tournament is, which makes sense. The baseball tournament does not generate as much profit as the basketball tournament does. So I can certainly understand trying to keep teams somewhat close to home. So that aspect made sense. But I also think that given the opportunity to create some storylines, they are going to take full advantage of that. And they certainly did that with Southern Miss. And although it's Tennessee needs to take care of business and another team needs to take care of business, there's a potential matchup down the road for next weekend that even overshadows the Southern Miss storyline this weekend in Knoxville. And now Tennessee and Southern Miss may not even play one another. So it feels like Tennessee and Wake Forest is on a collision course, especially after Evansville knocks off East Carolina. I think that increases the chances of Wake Forest coming out of that regional, which I thought Wake would win that regional. They just have too much talent not to make it out of that regional with Evansville, East Carolina, and VCU tonight. So it seems like Tennessee and Wake are on a collision course. And there's a guy named Chase Burns that pitches for the Demon Deacons. I don't know if either of you two have heard of that guy. He's pretty good on the mound, I hear. That was the storyline I got more a kick out of, and thought that the NCAA selection committee was not being slick whatsoever.
Ben McKee with Go Vols 24/7. Thanks for joining us, Ben, because you have taken every question that we were going to ask you. No, we talked to Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 earlier this week, and we talked about that Greenville Regional, and Chris kind of spoke to the fact that he wasn't sure that it should have been the Greenville Regional for one thing, but also a lot of eyes on Wake coming out of there and them matching up with UT and the Chase Burns storyline. Chase, who is a former Mid-State High School standout, by the way, played at Station Camp. So, a lot there to kind of keep an eye on, but a lot, like you said, to take care of between now and then as well. But you do feel a little bit better about Wake's chances coming out of there with Evansville getting East Carolina right out of the box.
I do, just because East Carolina was the team that a lot of people were. I mean, they're hosting for a reason, obviously. East Carolina, a very good college baseball program, very similar to Southern Miss in terms of they haven't quite been able to get over the hump just yet. Neither team has made it to Omaha in the College World Series, but they're knocking at the door every single season. It feels like it. I feel bad for East Carolina fans. It feels like every postseason I turn on Squeeze Play or am watching the NCAA tournament, and East Carolina is being walked off or upset on their home field or something along those lines. So East Carolina, a really good baseball program that's seeking and searching, trying to uncover every stone to get over the hump, but just hasn't been able to do it to this point. And again, they're hosting for a reason. They're a really good baseball team. I thought that if any of those three teams had a chance of upsetting Wake Forest, they were the team to do so, just because it is a really good baseball program. But Wake Forest, they certainly have more talent than East Carolina. They have three guys that are probably going top 10, top 12 in the draft here in a couple of months for a reason, and there's plenty of other talented players as well. But hey, it is sports after all. There's a reason that we play the game on a field and don't play the game on paper. Nobody thought Evansville would beat East Carolina. Wake Forest needs to go out and handle business against VCU tonight, and they'll have to turn around and play Evansville or even East Carolina down the road. So you never know how it's going to play out. Again, we play the games for a reason, but there's no mistaking that Wake Forest had more talent than anybody in that region, and hard not to pick talent over anything else.
Ben, as I'm kind of combing through the Knoxville regional, I know you'll get a kick out of this, that every team in that regional has made a College World Series. There's a little bit of a caveat to that because Northern Kentucky's came at the NAI level back in 1985, as everybody I'm sure remembers. But this seems like it's a sneaky competitive regional, and especially Indiana, after pulling off a nice win today, they were a team that made the tournament last year, and they've been to the NCAA. They've been to Omaha within the last 10 or 11 years. What's kind of the game plan? Is Tennessee's strategy or game plan simply, hey, if they show up and play ball like they're capable of, they should win this regional going away? Or is it going to be a little more of a challenge than they maybe anticipate coming into it?
My thinking is, as long as Tennessee shows up and plays its brand of baseball, it's going to be perfectly fine. Kind of going off that talent thing that I was talking about with Wake Forest, Tennessee has significantly more talent than Indiana, Southern Miss, and Northern Kentucky. Tennessee is by far the best team. It is the number one overall seed in the field for a reason. Yeah. It's hosting for a reason. And then especially tomorrow night, assuming Tennessee takes care of business against Northern Kentucky, a night game tomorrow against Indiana, Lindsey Nelson Stadium is going to be absolutely chaotic. And it'll be a very nice environment tonight as well. I don't want to suggest that I don't think that it will be, because fans kind of got a year off from hosting postseason baseball. And since the last time Tennessee hosted 2 years ago, the left field seating has been extended down the foul line. I believe they've added that third. I don't think that third deck of porches was in place the last time Tennessee hosted a tournament game, which was when they lost to Notre Dame. I believe that was just a 2-deck porches at the time. So they've added another deck as well. And one sneaky thing that I don't know that fans maybe realize is that there's a lot of standing room only seats that was done purposefully to pack it in even more in postseason. The seating capacity, it grew, but they also purposefully left a lot of standing room only area as well to pack it even more like sardines. So it'll be a great atmosphere tonight as well. And as long as Tennessee shows up and plays its brand of baseball, they're going to be perfectly fine. Just don't beat yourselves. Play good defense, throw strikes, work quality at bats. Don't do dumb things on the bases. Don't let the moment be bigger than itself. and they'll be perfectly fine. They just have too much talent, and at the end of the day, like, yeah, you do have some questions about the pitching staff, and I think ultimately, if Tennessee makes it back to Omaha, if Tennessee wins a national championship, it'll be dependent on how the pitching staff performs the next couple of weeks. But the offense needs to do its part as well. And Indiana, Southern Miss, Northern Kentucky, simply put, they don't have the pitching to handle Tennessee's offense. So I would be very, very surprised if Tennessee was kind of fighting for its lives this weekend. I think it should be on paper. We'll see what happens, but it should be a pretty simple, pretty cut and dry weekend for Tennessee as long as it shows up and plays its brand of baseball.
Ben, you talked about the standing room only, especially a moment ago. What's the ticket situation like in Knoxville? I had a buddy was talking, saying he, quote unquote, couldn't afford or didn't want to spend a high dollar to go up to the games this weekend. I'm curious what the fan environment's going to be like and what ticket prices kind of look like at this moment.
Yeah, I saw one of the viral tweets that was going around early in the week. I think it was like $1,300 for a set of tickets. I don't know what they are as of this afternoon. I haven't looked, quite frankly.
Probably not that much at this point, I would imagine.
I'm sure it's more than most because
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that buy season tickets for this exact reason, to ensure that they have postseason tickets. And this is one of the times where I'm very thankful that I have a media pass to get in, and I'll be sitting in the press box because I would have to take out a second mortgage, I think, to buy tickets. I mean, it's been outrageous in the past. It speaks to the growth of Tennessee baseball and how much Tennessee fans appreciate Tony Vitello and what he has built here. It's pretty cool, and it's pretty unique and special. We all know football's the breadwinner on Rocky Top, but Tony Vitello is absolutely beloved by Tennessee fans. And on top of that, I mean, the product is entertaining as all get out. You have players that fans have become attached to, like Blake Burke. I mean, you have Blake Burke's parents this week struggling to get to Knoxville from California because of flight issues. And Mama Burke's been tweeting about it the last 24, 36 hours about just the mayhem that they've had to deal with. And you've got Tennessee fans that are out of town for the weekend offering the Burks to stay in their house because they're not going to be there. So you have player favorites as well, Blake Burke, Simo, and so many others. We could go on and on and on. So it's really cool, and that's why the ticket prices are what they are. The product is entertaining. We all know that Tennessee fans are going to support anything that has Tennessee across the chest if they give them a reason to. And the ticket prices are not cheap. So some of y'all better just suck it up and watch from home because these ticket prices are outrageous. I mean, it's as simple as that.
May be the best way to go. Ben McKee of GoVols247.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Ben, as you mentioned, it's fourth seed Northern Kentucky going up against national number 1 Tennessee. Is the starting pitcher for UT tonight as important as tomorrow's starter? And with that, who do you feel like they're going to go with on the bump tonight?
It's going to be Chris Stamos. Tennessee did announce late last night that Chris Stamos, the lefty who's been opening for AJ Causey for the second half of the season. Causey got roughed up a little bit. I guess it was in early April, end of March, right as basketball was ending. He had 2 really poor back-to-back starts against Georgia and Auburn, if I remember correctly. And at that time, just trying to give Causey a different look because he was coming out of the bullpen at Jacksonville State, which is where he transferred from. They rolled with Stamos in that opener role, and he could go anywhere from 2 to 4 innings. It just depends on how he's looking, and he's pitched really well of late, as has AJ Causey. That too has been a terrific 1-2 punch for Tennessee in Game 1 this season. So it'll be those 2 tonight. To answer your question about which one is more important, that's a fascinating question because tomorrow doesn't matter if you don't win today. I mean, you want to set yourself up and avoid the losers bracket. And the thing about the losers bracket is that because it is double elimination, if you if you do find yourself in the losers bracket, you've got to potentially win an extra game or two in order to survive the weekend. And at that point, your pitching depth is being questioned pretty seriously. And that's the one question about this Tennessee team is, does it have enough pitching to get over the hump and go win a national championship and get back to Omaha? What they did in Hoover would point to yes. But I believe that some of those guys need to prove that they can be consistently reliable and not just kind of like you have Marcus Phillips and Dylan Loy and Andrew Binky. Like they had a couple of really, really nice outings in Hoover, but they've also been up and down as the season has progressed. So you want to avoid having to put your season on the arms of those players. They're all going to be terrific players at some point in their career, but they're still a little early in their development, and you just want to avoid putting it all on their shoulders. So that's why tonight is so important, because you want to avoid the losers bracket, obviously, but the more difficult lineup to pitch to will be Indiana. When you look at Northern Kentucky, who can hit it, they hit it really well in the Horizon League. Tennessee scored the 4th most runs in the country this season. Northern Kentucky, ironically enough, scored the 5th most. So, and obviously that's not against the SEC pitching, but it's still a really good offense. Tony Vitello has maintained all week long that because you think, or because we know that Tennessee is the number 1 overall seed in the field, you would assume that Northern Kentucky is the quote unquote worst team or the last team in the field, team number 64. And Tony Vitello has maintained all week that they are not, and that it's a really gritty offense. And he seems to be genuine about that, and not just doing the Bill Belichick coach speak ordeal. So you do have to get through tonight, but I did write this week that I think Drew Beam is the number 1 key for Tennessee this weekend, just in terms of the concerns with the pitching staff or the question marks with the pitching staff. He is the one that I think has to set the tone. Although it's weird because he's pitching in game 2 and you need Stamos and Causey to pitch well to get to him. I do feel like Indiana is the more difficult lineup to navigate. And I believe Drew is the one that's going to swing Tennessee's season, potentially, certainly the regional, potentially the season, one way or the other. There's a reason he's pitching game 2, because he's going to be in position to either pitch Tennessee into the regional final on Sunday, or next week, if Tennessee makes it to the super regional, he'll be pitching in that game 2 to potentially send Tennessee to Omaha, or this weekend, next weekend, pitching game 2 to avoid Tennessee's season coming to an end. And he is the leader of the pitching staff and one of the prime leaders on the team, another mid-state native, who his nickname is QB1 for a reason, and not just because he played quarterback there at Blackman, but because he has terrific leadership qualities as well. So for me, the most important guy this weekend for Tennessee is Drew Beam. I think he has to set the tone and lead the way for the pitching staff.
Tennessee, the national number 1 seed in the field of 64, leading the country in home runs, 2nd in slugging percentage, 4th in earned run average as a team in the country. I don't know that any other team, has that combination going for them. One of the 4 best power hitting teams and one of the 4 best pitching teams theoretically. So I guess, as you said, there's a reason they are the number 1 national seed. And, Ben, we can't let you get off of here without asking you about number 21, KT. It was kind of maybe a little inconsistent at Hoover, maybe, but when he's on, man, he's on.
Yes, KT, that's my guy right there. I love chopping it up with him and his wonderful family. His dad always greets me after the game as I'm making my way down to post-game interviews, and just a phenomenal family for anybody who has obviously interacted with them. I know he's right there from Columbia Academy, I believe it was.
Correct.
And a phenomenal young man who is about to have a nice paycheck in his bank account here in a couple of months. I'm going to hate to see the guy move on. That's one of the bummers, if you want to call it a bummer. The cool thing is being able to develop relationships with these young men and watch them grow. I mean, Kavaris has grown so much since he stepped foot on campus. Didn't really have a position. Out of shape, I guess you could say. Needed to work on his physique and get his body right, and he's certainly done that, and has grown as a defensive player, as a hitter, And it's been really fun to watch him play this season. And he had a really good week in Hoover. Now, he really struggled in that SEC tournament title game. I think he finished 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. And he did have a tough hit ball hit right at him there in the 9th inning with that stun. That was a tough play, but one I'm sure he would tell you that he needs to catch. And I would agree with him there if you're trying to win a tournament title. And but he's been terrific this season, and I expect for him to have a big weekend. I mentioned Northern Kentucky and Indiana and Southern Miss, the 3 teams in Knoxville, not having enough pitching to contain Tennessee. He's one of the guys that I have in mind when I say that. This is the weekend that I think Kavars should feast, quite frankly. So happy for him and his family, and excited to watch them as they move on from Tennessee, and hopefully can get to the big leagues one day. I'm sure that he will, and can't wait for that day to watch his debut. He's been really good for Tennessee, and to me, one of the poster child for Tennessee baseball. Everybody talks about the upper echelon of talent that they brought in, the big time recruits and whatnot, and rightfully so. But to me, what Tony has built has been behind the guys like Kavars Tears, who are in-state kids who maybe couldn't have gone elsewhere and have developed tremendously, and their careers have taken off.
Absolutely. Ben McKee, GoVols247.com, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, dealing with his 4-legged friend. So the house isn't completely empty, huh?
No, not completely empty. My guy Judge, which does speak to me being a Yankees fan.
There it is.
He is
bringing it full circle. I love it.
Yeah,
that's right. So last time when you weren't here, Maurice, the guys had to deal with me pulling over on the side of the road after I was picking up my oldest from daycare, and him chirping in the back, and now Judge gets in here at the very end. So who knows who's going to chirp in next time I join y'all.
Well, we look forward to it, and we appreciate you, and give Judge an extra treat for us, and we will catch up with you soon, man.
Absolutely. I always appreciate joining you here. I always appreciate you asking me to come on, and hope y'all have a great weekend.
Appreciate you, Ben.
All right. Hey, when we come back to close out the weekend update edition of Main Street Sports Today here on on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. It's a little grab baggish, a little update-ish. Stay tuned, and we'll tell you more.
Are you the biggest race fan? Main Street Media and Rackley Roofing are teaming up to send a family of 4 to the Rackley Roofing 200 truck race at the Nashville Super Speedway on June 28th. All you have to do is head to your favorite Main Street Media site and click on the Rackley banner to win.
We're back as we will wrap up the weekend update here on Main Street Sports Today. Maurice Patton, Wade Neely, and again, scrolling through Twitter as we are wont to do, I saw an interesting clip earlier today. Detroit offensive coordinator Ben Johnson was, I guess it was his first media availability here in a while, but he was talking to the Lions media corps about his head coaching aspirations, and he was obviously a hot name over this past offseason as 8 head coaching roles were filled, and he interviewed for a few of them, pulled out of the process about midway through, I guess, and decided to stay where he was at. And today, or maybe yesterday, but in this video that Mark is about to play, kind of explain why. And after you listen to it, I've got a couple of thoughts. And Wade, I want to get your thoughts on my thoughts.
Something that really resonates with me is, okay, 8 openings this past year. What would you set the over under in 3 years? How many still have jobs? Sure, yeah, I'd put the over under at 4.5. I would say there's a good chance 5 of them are out of jobs in 3 years, And so when I look at it from that perspective, if I get the opportunity to go down that road, it's about how do I get to that second contract? How do I set myself up that the stars need to align? I'm not going to do it just to do it. I love what I'm doing right now. Love it. I love where I'm at. My family loves where we're at. Love the people that we're doing it with. And so I'm not willing to go down the other path yet unless I feel really good about how it's going to unfold.
What's important for you to make it?
Say it again?
I said that's what I meant, 2 or 3 would make it.
Right. Yeah.
Under what circumstances would you, like, what are you looking for? What would be the right opportunity for you? Without naming teams or whatever, what sort of factors?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to it's ownership, it's staff, it's my vision of how I can make it work with how I know I am. Like, part of me too, I love play calling. And so I would, if I took a head coaching job, would want to be a play calling head coach. Well, there's a limit on how much time there is during a week. And so what's it going to look like Monday through Sunday in that regard? And just want to make sure everything's nailed down. And listen, there's an adjustment period for every person that takes that job. They're learning on the fly. But I think the more that you have set, and feel good about, that gives you the best chance. I was actually talking with someone the other day about this. Man, the longer you're in the coordinator chair, it does nothing but help you and prepare you more for the next step if it ever comes down the pipe. So personally, I don't feel like I'm hurting my opportunities or my abilities to be a head coach in the future. And I love what I'm doing right now.
So, of the 8 head coaches that were hired during this recent hiring cycle, Ben Johnson expects 5 of them to be out of jobs within 3 years. Now, as a Tennessee Titans fan or follower, you know that one of those jobs was your job. And if I recall correctly, Wade, I think the Titans wanted to get Ben Johnson in here and he didn't come. Do you remember it that way as well?
I know there were a lot of Titans fans that were hoping that Ben Johnson was going to end up in Nashville. And yeah, how and why that process didn't happen, it never did occur. Don't even know that he officially got an interview. Like I said, who declined who, I guess, is the question.
Right.
But yeah, it didn't work that way. But I know a lot of Titans fans at the time were certainly thinking he would be an attractive option.
According to this article on ESPN.com, he interviewed with Seattle, Atlanta, Carolina, and the Chargers. He was set to meet with Commanders officials before deciding to stay as offensive coordinator at Detroit. But when you hear somebody say, well, 5 of these guys that were just hired are going to be out of jobs within 3 years, I think immediately your antenna goes up a little bit, because I feel certain that the Titans didn't hire Brian Callahan with the thought that 3 years from now they're going to be in this position again. And I get what he's saying. There are a lot of things that you'd like to see be in place before you jump out on that limb like that. But, I just, from that standpoint, it was kind of an intriguing clip to hear for me.
I think so, and refreshing if nothing else from his standpoint. And to me, what jumps out is he feels really confident about Detroit and what they're going to be capable of again this year. And it speaks to his, love for Dan Campbell and the fact that he's been with that guy for the last going on 6 seasons. I think now they've been together. He's been a part of that staff since 2019. So seems like he feels confident. Hey, I'm not going to take just a job just to have a new job. I'm going to wait for the right situation. And, sometimes that is it's a more calculated approach for sure. And sometimes that pays off. And so, like I said, very refreshing, if nothing else, to kind of hear him lay that process out.
Yeah. Speaking of the NFL, Wade, you mind a little tidbit here that bears mentioning right about now as well?
Yeah, I thought this was right up your alley, Mo, that Gable Steveson, for all of his Olympic wrestling achievements, has signed a deal with the Buffalo Bills, and kind of an interesting turnabout here for a guy he's been rumored, I think, to work out with the Bills in the last couple of weeks, but they have apparently made it official, going to be a part of their defensive line. So he goes from Minnesota to winning national championships, and then was briefly even with the WWE, but then also has got that Olympic success, trying to become just the second ever Olympian or Olympic gold medal winner to play or win a Super Bowl. Obviously, everybody remembers Bob Hayes back in '64, and then winning one back in the day in the NFL too. So I thought this was a unique situation. If nothing else, he's a big dude, and sometimes, well, let's just put it this way, you can't coach that. And so the fact that he's a big dude and's got some pretty good technique. And I kind of forgot this piece too, that McDermott, the coach up there, has some pretty good familiarity with amateur wrestling. So the fact that those two are linking up is not necessarily surprising, but I did find it an interesting story.
It's very interesting. And, it hopefully there are some high school football coaches paying a little bit of attention to this, because wrestlers and offensive linemen, they're not a bad combo, to say the least. Stevenson, 6'1", 275, so he's got that low center of gravity. He knows how to use his hands, knows how to use his feet. It'll be interesting to see how quickly he picks up the game at its highest level. So
absolutely. And even here in Nashville, Mo, one of my favorite Michigan Wolverines of all time was Mike Martin, who was with the Titans for a couple of years. And his background, he was a stud wrestler coming out of Detroit before he got into football full time. So decent little NFL career. And if this works out for Gabe, hey, Gable Rather, pretty cool story nonetheless. And it'll be fun to keep tabs on as the year unfolds.
No doubt. Indoor football, arena football. The Nashville Cats are back at Municipal Auditorium tomorrow at 4:30. They will take on the Albany Firebirds. Cats coming in at 2-3, including a 51-41 loss at Albany back in early May. The Firebirds undefeated at 5-0. Nashville lost its last outing 69-62 down at Orlando last weekend. So the Cats trying to get to 500 with a win against the unbeaten Firebirds tomorrow at 4:30. Wade, you headed that way?
Not going to be headed that way, but I will keep an eye on it as, the Cats, talk about a big win. If they could get that one versus the Firebirds, and as you mentioned, and we'll touch on this briefly here in a second, you could knock that game out and Nashville soccer all in the same day.
Absolutely. Nashville coming off of their win at Cincinnati midweek, that 2-0 victory. They will be at Geodis tomorrow for a 7:30 first touch against the New England Revolution. So looking to get back-to-back victories there is NSC. So keep an eye on that as well. Did you watch any of Florida and the Rangers last night?
Caught a little bit last night. Another electric series or another electric game, and now Florida's sitting there. Hard-fought game last night, 3-2. They get the win, and the Rangers kind of teetering, being a little careful as Florida's looks like they're the hot team in this series at the moment.
They're teetering, are the Rangers, and the Panthers are going home for Game 6 tomorrow night with a 3-2 lead. So
would not be surprised if that one gets closed out, because Florida's got a lot of confidence and, as you said, going back home.
Yep. They're teetering, and the Rangers could just get pushed right on off the edge tomorrow night. So keep an eye on that one. UFL final regular season action this weekend. Tomorrow, Michigan's at Birmingham and San Antonio's at St. Louis. On Sunday, Arlington is at DC and Houston is at Memphis. Playoffs are already set. So this is all kind of anticlimactic for the UFL, but it is the final weekend of the regular season, so we will be keeping an eye on that as well. Wade, what are your plans this weekend?
getting ready to jet out. We're going to Lexington, not for the regional though. Going to catch some concert action, and looking forward to a big weekend up in Big Blue Nation. I'll pack a blue shirt just so I can fit in with everybody, I guess.
There you go. I'm sure. Hey, wear a Blue Raider shirt.
Now you're talking. Yeah, they will take kindly to that up there, I'm sure.
I have often had MTSU stuff confused for Kentucky stuff, but yeah, I think Kentucky fans are smarter than the person I was dealing with. So anyway, hey, that's gonna do it for today's edition of Main Street Sports Today. That's gonna do it for this week's Main Street Sports Today. Be sure and join us Monday at 2:00. We will be in the Lee Company studios right here. See you then. Have a great weekend.